Welcome to another edition of Conversation of the Heart. As always, it is your boy Tito. We have a very special guest in the building, Debbie Thomas. She is a certified meditation coach, an author, and the owner of Haven Inspired. She is a Philly native, Philly stand up. It definitely has a heart for people and definitely transformed her own life experience into really a driving force to really inspire and motivate others. Since 2020, though, she's been a devoted faith-based meditation coach and guiding different people and individuals to strengthen their emotional intelligence. I love emotional intelligence, by the way, and really trains them to embrace a purposeful life through meditation. So Debbie, so
Yeah.
let's before we get into the conversation, just for the people who don't know who you are, tell them just a little bit about you, who you are, and why you started the work that you're doing.
Yeah, of course. So, Debbie with an I, not an IE. Just saying that because I'm a little extra, nothing more than that. Um, like you said, I'm originally from the Philadelphia area. Have been in the Chicago area since 2005. Moved out here for school, ended up getting married, having the babies, all of that stuff. So have been
Hey.
out here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when it comes to like meditation and like how I got into it, I think the easiest answer for that is just life. Life be lifing.
Talk about it.
Life be lifing. And I was seeking out alternative ways to help with regulating emotions. I really did struggle the most with anxiety and anger. And really trying to find ways to regulate that to the best of my ability and struggled with that most of my life. And found through meditation a way to regulate, channel my emotions, become more self-aware. And through that ended up having me move into actually teaching it because I'm like, hey, this is something that I can do, that I can teach. It's something that comes very easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
And being in a space of being an African American woman,
Mm-hmm.
meditation not being a space that you see us, it was something that interested me and I kind of dove into it. And then here we are.
Here we
A
are.
couple of years later, teaching and leading and guiding people through meditation for emotional intelligence and healing.
Awesome, awesome. So, quick question. You said that you're from Philly.
Yeah.
So I know people from Philly.
Yeah.
Good
And I'm
people.
suburbs. I'm suburbs now. Suburbs.
No. What I'm asking though is this is a sports related question because there's
Yes.
a Philly is diehard Eagles.
Eagles.
Did,
Yes.
did you transfer to the Bears in Chicago?
Now, now, I have never been 100% a football fan. Like my
Ooh,
family is,
okay.
like now, granted, if you ask my family, my sisters, like Eagles all day, right?
But they still live there, right?
But they still live there. So
Right.
they're die hard. They're die hard. They got the blankets, they got the hats, they got the water bottles,
Sounds like me and my team. Yes.
the slippers, everything.
Yep.
So yeah, no, nothing really has transferred because I never have been the biggest football fan. I will say briefly in high school, I was a Jets fan, weirdly. But yeah,
Oh, what?
yes,
That's my
weirdly.
team. That's my team. I suffer
Yeah,
every
I was
year.
like
That's
just
my team.
weirdly. I don't know why. Actually, you know what? I know why, because I was obsessed with Ja Rule back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that probably has something to do with
He
it.
was
But
obsessed with Ja Rule.
don't
You telling your age a
don't
little
even go
bit.
there.
You telling your
Don't
age a little
even.
bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a little up there. It's all right. But yeah, that's kind of like the only thing that I would say when it comes to football. But
Mm-hmm.
out
Mm-hmm.
of that,
Okay. I just want to check because I
baseball
know
too.
I know a lot of my,
Baseball.
my Philly people die hard Sixers and Eagles and it gets crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. So Haven inspired.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Like what inspired that name? Like, like how did that come about? Why did you choose that?
Yeah, I found that a lot of times we spend our lives searching for a safe haven, just searching for safety. And Haven Inspired is just to kind of remind us that our safe haven is within us, it's within ourselves.
Mm,
It's on a practical level, but spiritually as well. Like
mm,
God's on the inside of us. So it's like our safe haven is within us. Um, so that's kind of where the haven portion of it, and then inspired is just trying to spark the inspiration, right?
mm.
Finding a way to spark that haven or that safe haven within us when we need it the most. So that's
Mm.
where haven
I love
inspired
that.
came
I love
from.
that a lot.
Yeah.
So when people think meditation, right,
Mhm.
they always say yoga, right? And that because even for us, it's like when I did yoga like years ago, like I wasn't meditating a lot there. I was sweating. Like the positions, the stretches,
Yeah.
it was first off, it hurt a lot. Hurt me a lot. I thought it was easy. I went up in there. I said, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna kill this thing. Kill it.
Hmm.
2 minutes, I would say less. I was like, what do I get myself into with this
Into it.
class?
Uh-huh.
I thought it was just stretching, right?
Right.
And people were, there and they were doing all of this stuff and I couldn't even concentrate long enough to meditate. My body was so hurt. Right.
Hmm.
Everybody was meditating, eyes closed. I was like, yo, my back hurt. Right. There was
Yeah.
no concentration for me when it came to that, when it came to yoga. But most people, when you think of meditation, it's yoga, it's stretching, it's those type of things. So what I want to know from you is what separates what you do, right?
Hmm.
Versus a yoga or something else that may include meditation and stretching and things like that. So what is it that Debbi does? So for the people who might want to participate and sign up for the classes, just what can they expect?
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to yoga versus meditation, it's all under the umbrella of mindfulness. So mindfulness just is another word for awareness, and just bringing awareness to oneself. When it comes to meditation, it's on a mental capacity and a spiritual capacity, whereas yoga is a physical, and they interact with meditation and add that to it for the spiritual side of it. So and it kind of depends also too on how you approach yoga. Yoga is definitely used more in the Hindu religion or Buddhist
Mm,
religions. Um,
mm-hmm,
they a lot of times they'll use things like mudras or things to add to the spiritual piece of it. Um, so that's where you may get like misconstrued or may see it both meditation and yoga compacted together. When it comes to me, because I'm faith based, meditation on my end is more so of the mental and spiritual side, and
mm-hmm,
work. So heavy affirmative meditations or heavy breath work meditations, and I partner it with journaling. So we go into a class, we'll have a discussion about a particular topic. The topic could be anywhere from self-awareness, self-love, trusting the process, anything along those lines. We'll have like a conversation about that topic, usually by posing questions. And then I'll go into like a 7 to 10 minute meditation that's just primarily based off of the topic. And then
mm-hmm,
after that, follow up with journaling questions to for everyone to take away and kind of ponder on throughout the week until the next class.
mm,
So it's more focused on the mental piece of it versus the
mm-hmm.
physical piece.
Got it. Wonderful. And I appreciate that clarity. Just because
Yeah.
a lot of people like, well, meditation is yoga. They go in there and they do that. And this
Yeah.
is just really about mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is great because when I think about mental health, me, I'm an advocate for mental health, and I believe in therapy, and I
Mm-hmm.
and I believe um in unpacking your stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said earlier, life, life,
It'd be life and life and
and life's often.
Yes.
often. And
Consistently.
so our minds are always flooded with different things. We're busy. Some people have kids. They're working. Then, working full time. They got one, two, three, four kids. Who knows? A husband and wife, whatever, a household to maintain.
Mhm.
Right? They got family. They got friends. They got businesses that they want to open. They got bills.
Right.
Right? And things sometimes go left, right, up, down, all around. Right? And so we also go through a lot of things where we suffer a lot of things internally, silence,
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff is up here,
Yeah.
all up here. And
All
then
of
we
it.
end up, it comes out in ailments
Mm-hmm.
physically,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and so what I like about what you're doing is you're bringing this clarity, right?
Yeah.
Mindfulness, clarity. Like, let's clear this stuff out. Let's clear the clutter. Let's focus on what we're going to be focusing on for this particular class. That's super important, and I think that's super amazing and essential to mental health too.
Yeah.
um, and just for the fellas too, this is for you too, because I know what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're thinking. Oh, this ain't for me. This
Yeah.
is more like women do this stuff. No, no, this is for you too,
Yes, yes.
and
There's a
you
lot
probably
of
need it more.
men come to my classes too. Like it's definitely been, a mixed crowd when it comes
Good,
to both male and female,
good.
especially in the Black and brown space, which is great. And we're starting to evolve and understand how mental health is so important to us, not if not more important to us, because we're not just dealing with our current situations, but we have attachments to a generational issues and generational curses and things that we don't even know that are living in our body now that is trauma
We
based. And
yes.
it kind of explains, like when we go into spaces, like when I go to African American museums or things like that, things that I've never personally experienced, but experience it in my body to the point where I cry. You know what I mean? Like if I just come in and I just see a space and it instantly gives me a bodily response and an emotional response just by me walking into the space, that's a generational trauma. That's something that not I didn't go through, but my ancestors went through, and it traveled
Mm,
bloodline.
mm.
Um, so there's so much more to it that I think that Black and brown people need to, like, come on, y'all, we gotta wake up.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say that, the one thing that comes to mind is grief.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times people feel like grief is just for funeral. Grief
Mm-hmm.
is just for death, right?
Right.
And it's not.
No.
We grieve things every day. Thousands of people have gotten laid off of work this year.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people, are discussing it on social media. We talking about, whose table is it and who brings what to the table and this and that. We had these arguments on social media about relationships and nonsense.
Yeah.
But thousands of people have lost their jobs. And
Yes.
how many of them do you think are grieving that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? People who
Yeah.
have family, children, sick kids,
Right.
right? Sick spouse, whatever the case is, they
Right.
shouldn't be losing their employment at this point, right? But they
Right.
are if they lost their benefits,
Right.
right?
Or people on like paternity or maternity leave who lost,
Mm,
who were laid off, like
see,
literally on leave,
see.
pregnant or just had a baby, new,
Mm-hmm.
fresh out the womb, fresh amniotic fluid. Okay.
Fresh ambiotic fluid.
It's fresh.
Whew.
and and laid off. Like it's just a hard time. And you're right, when it comes to grief, we don't just grieve people as far as like death, but we grieve situations, we grieve people that are still here, we grieve so many different things. And any type of traumatic experience, we're going to go through that process of grief. We're going to go through the denial. We're going to go through those stages. And we have to go through that process. I grieved when I was laid off. I grieved. I grieved for weeks. I also grieved when I went through my divorce. Like I had to grieve that. I had to
Mm,
when of course my father, he passed away. I had to grieve that. But then I also had to grieve the possibilities of my father being around. So it wasn't even just, grieving that, but on my wedding day, I had to go through a grieving process, because my dad wasn't there. Or when I graduated from college, I had to go through a grieving process. When my kids were born, I had to go through a grieving process for my dad. So it doesn't,
mm-hmm,
it doesn't necessarily stop. It evolves
mm-hmm,
cycles, and you may have to grieve more than once for the same thing,
mm, mm-hmm.
So
And it's so true. We kind of have interesting, we have very interesting sometimes stories,
yeah.
layoffs and divorces and
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a kid yet. But nevertheless, going through those situations, a lot of it is not easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's heavy, right? And you got divorced and you have kids, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
so that is an additional layer,
Yeah.
right? Because now you got to talk to your kids,
And I
right?
have to have that conversation. So
It's
it's
another
another
layer.
grief. Even
Mm-hmm.
going in and talking to your friends about it, and then having to talk to your family about it. Like it's like you have to relive that, especially when you're with someone for so long and
Mm.
will expect for you guys to be together
Right.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
My relationship with him was for 10 years. So it was a long period of time, 10-year relationship,
Yeah.
8
Oof.
marriage. And
You said 10-year marriage, no, 10-year
10
relationship,
year
eight-year
relationship and
marriage.
8 year marriage.
Got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's a
Yeah.
lot.
So
A lot.
yeah, it's a lot. You have to grieve you bought a house together. You got to grieve your home. You have to, all of those things. And it's something that I have learned that I can't fight. And the more that I fight it, the longer it prolongs.
Yes.
And if I just allow myself to feel the emotions, to feel, how I'm feeling, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
always been that one to be like, all right, I'm cool, whatever, it's great, I'm good. No, you're not.
You are not.
You are not.
Mm-hmm.
Calm down. You hurt, you sad, you're depressed. Like
Mm-hmm.
just take it for what it is and let it process and let it go. And I found that the more willing I am to go through that grieving process, the faster it goes.
Mm. And that's the thing I find when it comes to grief and even with relationships and divorce, right? Sometimes there may be one party who's I won't say the guilty party. Both parties are probably, obviously have done things in the marriage to
Yeah.
make it go. But sometimes, there's one person that's just a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but the thing about it is, what I find in breakups and divorces, the focus for you to move forward, sometimes the focus is to focus on you,
Yeah.
right? And what you could have done, not could have done better, but where were your areas of opportunity for yourself,
Absolutely.
right? So that
Yeah.
for your to prepare you for the next opportunity, you know not to do those things, right? Because you
Right.
can't control the other person. The other person could have gone, moved on, whatever that could have happened, right? But
Right.
you as a person, all right, well, what did Terrence do? What did Debbie do? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are some of your bad habits? Right? How do you
Right.
hold yourself accountable? And when you do that, the healing starts,
Arts.
right?
Yeah.
And you're not so focused on
Right.
like the
Right.
other person because now you're stuck on the other person
Right.
24/7, 365. Well, they did this and they did that. And it's like every day. They did this, they did that, they did that. And
It
you're
gets
like,
old.
and you realize you're always angry. You're
Mm-hmm.
sad, you're angry. And it's like, at some point, it's like, all right, where does the shift
Mm-hmm.
happen? Right? Where it's like, forget them, me. How
Mm-hmm.
can I sharpen myself to be better for the next opportunity? Because if I don't do that, I can't bring old habits into new situations.
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to repeat the same cycles and be mad all over again.
All over again. It's going to
Right.
keep going. Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes, when people get in bad breakups and bad situations, it's like the other person, and they could be 2000% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he cheated, she cheated, whatever the situation was, or whatever it is was for you, it was.
Yeah.
But but you as a person, you're not perfect. What could you do to prepare yourself for the future? And that part makes it exciting because now you start thinking about future.
Right. Right.
What's to
That's
come?
the part. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like what's to come? But let me get myself together because what's to come could be greater than what was. And now I'm ready, I'm prepared, and I have more tools in my tool belt. Right?
Right. Right. I mean, it starts with honesty. And a lot of times we spend time in these cycles because we're lying to ourselves every day. We're just
Ooh-wee.
continuously lying to ourselves. And we lie so much to ourselves that we begin to see those lies as truth. And we begin to take on those lies as identity. We start taking on the lies of identity as identity. We start
Mm,
taking on our trauma as
mm,
identity.
mm,
And when you take on something like that, like lies and trauma as identity, that's a dangerous place to be in, because now you're convincing yourself that you're a lower capacity than what you really are or truly are. And I had to come to the conclusion that I was lying to myself,
mm,
and I was believing my lie, and I was taking that on as it being who I am. That's just me, you know?
mm.
And that's not the case. For instance, for example, I used to have like a really big chip on my shoulder. I used to be very angry all the time. Didn't understand why, but I would just brush it off like, oh, that's just me. That's just the Aries in me. That's just I just tell it like it is. I'm straight, but no chaser. Da, 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 da,
And,
da.
and
And
that's the Philly. That's the Philly.
that, yeah, right. You know what I mean? But I had to take the time to really understand, like, no, like you have been hurt, you're still hurt, you're bitter,
Mm,
and
mm,
your bitterness is created an angry side of you,
mm.
and that's not who you are at the core. And it's like that, even God telling me that's not how I designed you to be. I designed you to
Wow.
be great in patience and kindness and gentleness and meekness. That's
Mm,
how I designed you to be. So the way that you're acting is not you, it's trauma. And I had to come to that conclusion and then take the time to do the work, to work through it and really understand where it came from. And a lot of it had to do, it all circled back to I wasn't being authentically who I want to be and who I truly am. I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I was trying to be what I thought I should be, or what other people wanted me to be, or what I thought other
mm.
people need to be. And when I stopped doing that and started operating in my truth and who I really am and embracing that,
Yeah.
that's when all of the other things started to melt away. So
Wow.
now I'm calm. You know, my communication style used to create anxiety in other people, and I didn't realize it. Um,
Wow.
Now for me to be on the other side where people tell me my voice is calming and it's kind and it's gentle and all of
Soothing.
the things and soothing, the totally the opposite of what I've been in the past. It's like,
Mm,
oh, all right, God, I see you, I got you. All right.
mhm, mhm. And that's amazing, and that's called growth, and that's
Yeah,
called maturity and growth. And one, salute to you for the accountability.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because a lot of people are allergic to accountability.
Mm, yeah.
And
Severely.
everybody's always right, you
Yeah,
know. Um,
yeah.
and so I think it takes a certain type of person to admit, like, hey, yo, man, I'm not all the way right.
Mm-mm.
Like, I got stuff to do, right? I
Right.
have work to do. And that's why I always recommend therapy
Mm-hmm.
to people because therapy, I'll say is therapy rips the mask off
Throws it in your
of
face.
who you think you are.
Hmm.
And it
Yeah.
puts you in the mirror and shows you who you really are.
Yeah.
And not everybody is ready for that because
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, wait, I thought I was this. I thought I was this bomb 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like I thought I was this great, and and the thing about it is you may be a good person, but good people go to therapy too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
it's we all have stuff.
Right. And it's going to
And
take time to unpack it too. Yeah.
it's because it took time to build it. And it's
Right.
gonna take
Exactly.
time to bring it back and to slowly just take the things out, to just take them out the box. It's gonna take a long time to unpack. If anybody has moved like you have and I have, it takes time to unpack.
Yeah.
And I hate
Yeah.
it.
Yes. But
I
you have to
hate
give
it.
yourself the space for it too, because
Yes.
I think my other issue was I had to be in relationships. I had to be. Like if I'm not in a relationship, I didn't
Mm,
feel like I had worth to a capacity. So I
mm.
had to put myself on punishment, ma'am. Sit down. You go ahead and turn off all those dating apps. You don't need to talk to nobody and deal with yourself. Because my thing is, I came out of a 10 relationship and jumped into a 3-year relationship with someone,
Mm,
and
mm.
literally right back to back. And I ignored a lot of red flags in that relationship because I wanted just to be able to say that I had somebody that I can too be
Right.
loved. You know what I mean? So
Right, right, right.
and after going through that whole ordeal and situation, I was like, you know what? You on punishment, girl. You not, no more dating. You done for now. And work on
Facts.
you because it's
Facts.
like, and once I did that, I actually came out of it on the other side with so much because it's like,
Mm.
now I know who I am. And now that I know who I am, I can now determine who I want. And
Yeah.
then once I determine who I want, then I can work on being the woman that that person would want. And so
Mm.
that's kind of like where I'm at now. But
Oh, so
yeah,
are the dating apps back on?
no,
Oh no, okay,
I told me was like your husband ain't on there.
okay. Sorry, fellas. I tried. Sorry, fellas. She's not on the
But
apps.
yeah, your husband ain't on there. He's not there. He's somewhere, but he ain't there. Yeah, no, I just kind of just took because I felt like I could have it's an addiction to some extent for people.
Ooh.
I
Mm-hmm.
think because it's like you go through these dating scenarios and as soon
Mm-hmm.
as someone does one thing, it's like, oh, never mind, I'm just go ahead, black. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start swiping again. And it becomes
Mm.
like a never-ending cycle where you're trying to find this perfect person and you're never going to find them because you're going to find little small things as to why you're not going to work with this person because you have a plethora of people that you can swipe through every day.
Wow.
So for me
Wow.
and for my personality, because again, I know myself and I'm honest
Mm-hmm.
with me, I
Mm-hmm.
think that a dating app is for me, even though
Mm.
I use it a lot in the past.
Got
So
it.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's my way of ensuring that I'm finding someone that is for me and not, justifying myself to, okay, well, he looked a little weird and when he said that. So I'm gonna just, block him and then I'm gonna go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just silly.
Yes. So you want to organically meet someone
I
and
want to organically meet
I
someone,
get
or
it.
even if it's just like, I don't mind people doing blind dates for me or anything like that. But it's like for me, I'd rather just meet someone in person or meet someone organically instead of having it be like,
Right,
oh,
right. Totally
swipe,
get it.
swipe.
I've never been on a dating app before. I mean, I've heard of them all. I've had friends, I have people who use them all. I kind of know all of them, but
Yeah,
I've never personally used one. But a lot of people have been successful. But I think you have to
yeah,
know what's for you and what's not for you, right?
yeah.
And to me, yeah, to me, I understand it. Like to me, there's nothing like meeting someone organically,
Mm-hmm.
um, right? And that's something that's super dope. And also, you know, you have kids.
Yeah.
The game is a little different too, right? Like
Mhm.
you have to protect them at all costs. Be careful who you bring around. It's
Right.
just a lot of things that you have to obviously as a woman, just be protective of, right? And including
Right.
yourself.
Right.
Um,
And they're teenagers. So they're also very involved. And so
ooh,
when it comes to, even though they want me to date, they're going to ask questions,
new guy ain't gonna survive.
especially my 15-year-old son. He's going to ask some questions.
Yeah, what's up? I mean, it's my mother. What's up? I mean, you
Right.
want you want that smoke? Like he probably. I mean, now kids are so tall and so big. He could
Right.
be
Both of my
almost
kids are
as
tall
big
to me.
as he could be as big as the guy. Like, what's
Yes.
up? You
Yes.
like, oh man. I mean, they don't make teenagers like they used to. Like it's so different now. But that's amazing to see, right? Just the growth period of when you got divorced to now, where you just like, you know what? I know what I want.
Right.
I
Right.
got it. I did the work,
Right.
right? So like there's healing in that, right? Like there's
Right.
so much
Right.
healing in what you just said. And I wish people and I hope all the viewers and listeners can really hear what she's saying because there is such healing in your process,
Right.
right? There's
Right.
healing and accountability. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I don't think people understand either. There's healing and accountability,
There's healing and
right?
accountability. I
Because
love
you
that.
release the other person,
Yeah.
hold
Yeah.
yourself
Right.
accountable, and then you can move forward.
And then peace comes, right? And when peace
Peace.
comes, you're more protective over that peace. And then
Mm,
you start to guard your heart even more because it's like,
mm-hmm.
okay, now that I have this peace and I have, of course, life happens again, life be life. And of course, life happens, but it could be so much worse if you weren't guarding and protecting your spirit and your heart.
Mm,
So now when people come into your life, you're really like really more protective, you're more discerning. You can really pick up on energy and whether it's someone that you really want to be a part of your life and at what capacity you want them to be a part of your life. And I found myself to be so much more now protective of my space and being protective of who has access to me because having access to me is a privilege, right? And that's for anyone. If someone has direct access to you, that's
mm-hmm.
a privilege and understanding that that's a worth that you have.
Right.
So when it comes to allowing people into my space, I'm really particular about that and it's not even about allowing them into my space and having access, but how much access. I've been an oversharer in the past
Yeah.
where people can use that against you.
Mm,
Um, so that's something that I had to channel too, as far as guarding and protecting. Like, okay, I know that you have a heart for people, but you don't need to share everything. Allow people to have access, but grant them access as things come along. So
yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people who have a heart for people, I think struggle with that.
yeah.
I think I know I do because I find myself to be an open book,
Hmm.
right? And I'm just like information is information. Like,
Right.
like we share it, right?
Right.
It probably could help somebody, could probably bless somebody, could probably, whatever the reasons are, right?
Yeah.
And I'm an extrovert by nature. So like I
Hmm.
just like talking, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell no secrets about anybody else, but when it comes to like just me and my stuff, like I like to be an open book for me, right?
Right.
Because that's how people learn. Sometimes people keep information to keep things close to the chest and don't want to share the secrets. And it's like, man, like, nah, I want to give the secrets away, especially to the young people and people that you can help. And but on the flip side of it, you're right.
Yeah. You burn sometimes.
It's
And it's like I've learned how to share, like you said, those secrets. I've learned how to share those secrets with discretion,
mhm.
and understanding that not everybody has my best interest at heart, or some people um are in it to get information, right?
Mm. I know
So
how we
it's just operating with wisdom
yeah.
and
Mhm. Some
still being
discernment.
willing to wisdom and discernment, still being willing to help people. But and I think the Holy Spirit really helps with that. Actually, it's like, okay, share this, but don't leave that part up. Don't do that. Don't do that. Nobody
Mm,
that right now until it's time to release that as a testimony. But
mm,
it just kind of, because there's some times where I share more with some people, and there's some times where I share less with others because of that discernment. So it's like,
mm,
point across to a certain extent, but just kind of knowing and hearing God's voice and understanding what to share, when to share, and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
pull back when you need to, and give when you need to. So I'm learning that.
Yes, it is. It isn't ever. It's a process because
It is.
I can empathize and sympathize with that as well because I'm like that as well, man. So with all that you've been through, I mean, you've been through quite a few different things, obviously different scenarios in your life, and life
Mhm.
be life, and
Like,
um, um, when it comes, so how has meditation now in turn impacted your life, right? Because you've been doing it for like the last few years, and now you're teaching and you're coaching this stuff. So with all you've been through, how has meditation impacted your life? Like if somebody came to you and said, Debbi, like, I'm going through XYZ, I don't know what to do. How has meditation helped you? And do you think it could help me? Like, what would you say to that person?
yeah. So, one of the biggest things that meditation does, it gives you space. So we live in a society where we're always going. We're waking up. As soon as we wake up, we gotta go. We gotta go, get in the shower. And then you gotta brush your teeth. Then you gotta get this. You gotta get your bag. You gotta pack stuff up. Then you gotta go to the gym. Then when you leave the gym, you gotta go to work. Then you're at work for 8 hours. And then you gotta come home, and then you gotta sit. Like it's just so much. Gotta cook dinner. And then you got the kids. And then you look up, it's 10 o'clock. And then you want to watch the show.
And you
and
sleeping.
then, and then you go to bed, and then you fall asleep watching the show, and then wake up and do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So meditation primarily gave me space to process my thoughts. Sometimes we're going so fast that we can't even sit and process how we're feeling, what our thoughts are. And I always partner it with prayer. Bible talks about
Mm,
meditation, meditate and pray. And growing up in the church, I've never recall a time where a pastor has actually explained what meditation, like how you actually meditate, right?
mm,
Like I've
mm.
never, they just say, they quote the scripture, meditate at day and night, yada, yada, yada,
That
blasey,
that's a
blasey.
good call out. Mm-hmm.
But it's like you never have it to where, okay, what does that look like? Right? What does that sound like? How do I
Mm-hmm.
do that? How long
Right.
do I do that? How do I sit? What am I supposed to say? It's kind of like with prayer. For the longest time, they say to pray, but I'm like, I don't like what that look like. I don't even know what to say,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did have the pastor actually explain to us one Sunday that the Lord's Prayer is a template. It's not just something to quote. It's a template. It's supposed to show you
Right.
actually how to pray. So once I learned that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So so I
Finally. Yeah.
so I think what really helped me is that when I went into meditation, I was seeking new age spirituality, right? I was trying to find
Mm-hmm.
a way to connect with myself, but it ended up connecting me back to God.
Mm,
So when it comes to meditation and partnering it with prayer, my experience with God is greater.
mm,
I'm able to really take the time to not just pray and petition, but listen. When it comes to having a conversation, it's a give and take, right? You got to talk a little bit, you got to listen a little bit, got to talk a little,
mm,
listen a little bit. And I think we spend so much time praying, we spend so much time talking, and we ain't listening. So
mm,
usually when I partner, meditation is usually either at the top of my prayer or at the end, depending on how I feel. Like if I have to get stuff out, I'll pray first and then meditate. Or if I don't even know what to say, then I'll meditate and then pray.
mm.
So partnering it with prayer is how it's gotten my relationship with God so much stronger, so much better. And I think that's the biggest and most important impact that it's had in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Because you're utilizing both.
Yeah.
I have a saying, it's like God and therapy do both, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always say that because I got tired of like this, it has to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you do this on this side, that means you don't have faith on this side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I grew tired of that because I've watched people suffer immensely because of this,
Yeah.
whether it be physically with their medication. Oh no, God's got me in praying. I ain't gonna
Mm-hmm.
take my blood pressure medication.
Right.
And
Right.
now you got a stroke.
Right. Right.
Right. Now there's different ailments coming after this, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it's frustrating. And
Right.
that frustrates me a lot because it's like, why couldn't you do both? Why couldn't you take your medicine and pray? You pray
Right.
until you don't have to take your medication anymore, if that's the case, right?
Right. And even I mean, and God created us in his image. You think his image is high blood pressure and diabetes and anxiety and all of this? That's not his image. That's not where he wants us. And God has put doctors and all of these people into place, and therapists are in there to help us, right? It's kind of like that story of like the person sitting in the boat and God's gonna save me, and they keep sending boats, to come save them, and they keep bypassing. Oh no, God's gonna save me. God's gonna save me. And he's like, dude, I sent you 3 boats. Like, get in the boat. Like it's the same thing when it comes to therapy. Like, God has these people in place to help us mentally. And just like we have to go to the doctor for our bodies, we have to go to the doctor for our minds. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if you got to take a little medication to meddle things out, then that's what you got to do.
And
So
and
of it.
and that's the thing because a lot of times if you have high blood pressure, cholesterol, there's the truth about that.
Yeah.
It's stuff you was eating.
It's diet.
It's stuff you was doing. And now you're
Right.
like, oh well, I'm not gonna take my medication because I'm gonna let God do it. You was
Right.
eating that Twinkie though.
Right. Right. That
You
high
was eating like you
cholesterol.
was
Yeah.
hold on. And now I'm not gonna take my blood pressure medication because of pop, 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 pop. And I'm like, wait a minute, but you did that.
And faith without works is dead. You know what I
That
mean? Because it's like, if you're not going
that
to take
part.
the medication, if you're not going to take it, then change your diet, exercise. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the case, I don't want to be on that medication, that does this, it does that, which is true, then change your diet. Stop
I
eating
don't
all
want
the
to be on medication, but you stuff in your mouth with a bunch of stuff that guess
fried
what?
chicken, gluttony.
So either way, you stuffing yourself with stuff that you shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So it's like
right,
you might as well take the medication because you eating yourself into a grave pretty much,
right,
right?
right. Cake
And
pies and
yeah, and it's
all of
all
with,
good
with
stuff. I
all.
get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, if you're in a situation, utilize the doctors, utilize your faith. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to choose,
No, no,
right? And
no.
that's why I'm glad, with the work that you're doing with meditation, you're not choosing,
Mm-hmm.
you're incorporating.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing. There are Christian therapists out there. Don't
Mm-hmm.
have an excuse. There's no excuse. Oh no, I had a therapist. No. Black people too. Black folk, we got a stigma for everything. Stigma,
Right. Right.
therapy. And then if you're a Christian black person, Lord have mercy, it's
Right.
double. Like
Go
so
pray it off and go to sleep.
that's it. Take your ginger ale
Take
and
the
go to bed.
tussin, take the tussin and go to bed.
Everything is gonna be good in the morning. And you just
Right,
like,
right.
and
Joy
you just
comes in the
like,
morning.
yeah, God's not gonna put on more than you could bear now.
Right,
Don't worry
right.
about it. And
No
you sitting
weapon
there
formed
like
against me will prosper.
everybody's shouting these scriptures and it's no problem and shouting everything everybody knows, right? But then it's just like, wait a minute, like what happened to the common sense?
Right, right. Exactly.
That's my thing. And so that's why I love that's why I love what you do. I love the fact that you're incorporating your faith and God in also with the meditation, because I don't even have to speak to anybody. I already know it's blessing people. I
Hmm.
already know that part. Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
so let's float here for a second. Not self, let me be great.
Yes. Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about that book, workbook. And
Yeah.
it's a workbook journal, right?
Yeah, so it's two variations of it. So the non-self let me be great inspiration workbook and that's more so about self-doubt. So it
Mm-hmm.
talks about my life journey when it comes to self-doubt. And at the end of each chapter it has an affirmation, and then it has a section where you can kind of work through what I worked through in the inspiration portion for yourself. So yeah, it was kind of just came out of nowhere from me journaling. um
Mm,
there was a time when I would have never even thought that I would have wrote a book, but it just kind of flowed and just happened. And um I think that's where the blessing is in it, because it's like it was one of those beautiful accidents. um
mm,
and it's very helpful in the fact that it is very open about my life and the things that I've gone through, and then it still encourages you to really think through those things on your own for yourself. So yeah, and then the caveat to that is there is a non-self let me be great journal, which is just
mm-hmm.
has journal prompt questions in there for daily and weekly check-ins. So that's just an empty journal.
Love it, love it, love it. Super dope. Um, so when it comes to this particular book, right? Where can
Mhm.
they get it?
It's on Amazon.
Hey.
If you go on Amazon, you can just type in NAH dot 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 and it will pop up. Uh, or you can go to my website at haveninspired.com, and there's a link on there, as well as like on my
Mm-hmm.
social medias and stuff. There's a link for it on my link
Love it.
tree.
Love that.
Yeah.
So now that goes into the like the merch, because you got merch, right? So
Mhm.
it's Haven inspired style. So what's
Yes.
that about?
It's affirmative teas.
Why are we
So
doing the
pri-
same thing? I'm not gonna lie, but go ahead. I'm just saying, like, we here. Okay.
we here.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
right. Collaborate. It's
yeah.
gotta coordinate. Gotta
Yeah.
coordinate. but but yeah, so it's an affirmation, positive affirmation teas. It's just associated with the brand, just to kind of carry your safe haven with you,
Mm,
within your clothes and the things that you wear. And a lot of the affirmations are just things that I say often. I'm known for my little taglines. So I just kind of
mhm.
put them on a shirt and just sell them that way, so that way people can carry it with them.
Fire. And that's haveninspiredstyle.com. Is
Yep,
that what it
Haven
is?
Inspired, yep, haveninspiredstyle.com. And then even if you go to haveninspired.com, there will be a link to that website too.
Awesome, awesome. So your classes. So what kind of classes do you have? I know groups. Is it mostly groups? Is it one-on-ones? Like what do you do? Like, what services do you provide um for other people if they want to get involved and sign up?
Yeah, so to sign up, I do have virtual classes. So they're virtual meditation and journaling classes,
Mm-hmm.
usually about 45 minutes virtually, which is the discussion, meditation, and then journal prompts that I was talking about earlier. I also do classes in person. So again, I'm in the Chicago area. I
Mm-hmm.
do work with a few non-for-profits that pay me to offer free group classes for
Mm-hmm.
them. So I am at Coffee, Hip Hop, and Mental Health every Monday, um, where we do an hour and a half of a meditation and journaling class, or like
Mm-hmm.
meditation breath work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I work with the Phoenix for their meditation and journaling classes virtually, which is like a non-for-profit for substance abuse recovery, which is pretty cool. But yeah, outside of that, I'll work with other non-for-profits. I'll do like pop-up shops. I'll do pop-up meditation sessions with different companies, whether it be corporate or not-for-profit or even for like events, so like if the people want to have an event or a mental health event, expos.
Hmm.
I've done all of those, and in churches as well. Yeah.
That's dope. Like that's
Yeah.
really amazing. And I believe that, man, you should do a whole church tour.
Yes.
I'm be
Yes.
honest with you.
Yes.
There's a lot of people there that need some meditation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because a
Yes.
lot of times people they go to church and get on a high on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, and then
The rest of the
Monday
week is
it's
just,
like what it
yeah.
is, right? And so so for you, like that would be amazing to see you do like a church tour. And churches don't be cheap. Pay it, please.
Yes.
Be
I
clear.
do have a fee.
Yeah, be clear. We know everything is for the glory of God, but please,
Yes.
we only do
Yes.
that with our folks. So
Yes.
no, pay. I can hear it already. Oh,
Yes.
you just
Yes.
don't come on down on a Monday afternoon. Don't worry about it.
Right.
We're
Right.
gonna have some good food for you. You know what I mean? Like,
We got
no.
one of those fish plates, in the
Yeah,
back. Be all
we're not
right.
doing those
I
fish
will take a
plates.
fish plate. I ain't
In
gonna lie.
addition,
But
in
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 addition,
addition to you coming off that fee, okay?
right.
I just want to be clear. I understand. Um, you know, but everything that you're doing for the community, for the people, it's mental health, man, and it's to be honored, it's to be celebrated, because we need it, especially in our community.
Yeah.
Everybody need it, but we need it.
Yes.
We
Yes.
really need it for us, because there's just a lot going on, with
Yeah.
us and in the world, right? And to be a representative of faith, Christians,
Hmm.
of believers,
Hmm.
right? You represent, them, and you represent us very, very well, right?
Yeah.
Because you also use common sense.
Yes.
And I love Christians who use common sense.
Common sense.
I don't
Yes.
really have use for the Christians that are so heavily minded that they're no earthly good, with all due
Delusion.
respect.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
can't. Like when they're always just in the clouds and they're never on real life. It's like, no, no, no. We're also in real life.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that for this generation. Because those examples are what we need in this generation.
Yeah.
And there's no disrespect to the old school, but sometimes y'all lived way up here, and
Hmm.
we was down here suffering. Like, hey, hold on now.
Right.
Where's the reality here in things, right? So I love that you give practical, sound advice. That's something that's really needed, and it can come from a believer standpoint. And I think we need
Yeah.
a lot, and we need a lot more of that out here. So definitely, uh, thank you, for all the work that you do, because it is absolutely necessary. So before we get out of here, just tell the people where they can find you, how they can follow you, how they can get in touch with you. And no, okay, we're not doing the apps, but now, give the people where they can find you.
Yes.
Okay, you might get some DMs, and people might slide into your DMs all in the name of the Lord. You know what I mean?
Name. Yeah, so I am on all of my handles are the same at Haven Inspired, HAVEN Inspired, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. Is that all of them?
Whereas,
And Facebook.
Facebook, yeah,
And
people can,
Facebook.
but yes, Facebook.
I'm heavily on Instagram though. That's where I do most
Mm-hmm.
lives. I do affirmation lives and things, meditative lives. So that's where I do most of those. If you're looking for guided meditations or just want to hear like a sample of my voice, because a lot of times when finding a meditation coach, you want to identify with the voice. So if the voice doesn't speak to you,
Mm.
sometimes people have a hard time meditating because they're not connecting to the voice. And if the
Hmm.
voice is, not us, sometimes, you know, it's kind of hard to stay in the meditation. Okay. With all
Uh, with all due
with
respect.
all due respect. So if you want to hear a sample, just go to Haven Inspired on YouTube. There are meditations for Black men, for Black women, racial trauma, self-love,
Mm.
And then there are a bunch of devotional meditations. So there's the meditations for Christians, meditative guided prayers. Um,
Mm.
if you're having a tough time praying and not knowing what to say, like this is kind of like a guide on what to say, or just encouragement in the Christian walk. So you'll be able to see all that there. But yeah,
Love it,
and
love it, love it.
for classes, just go to haveninspired.com.
Yes, yes. Please go out and support and get into these classes and really help, spread the word, about this meditation, because Debbie's doing an amazing job. She needs to be highlighted. She needs to be booked and busy, um,
Thank you.
from this day forth.
Yes.
And
In
she needs
Jesus'
to,
name.
yes, in Jesus' name, and she needs to be even more booked and busy because we know she's booked and busy, but she needs to be even more booked and busy and doing the work that she's passionate about and the work that's impacting the lives of people. Okay, so and please don't be cheap people. If you hit her up, please. Let's let's act right. Okay. No, but seriously, Debbie, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for taking the time out to do the show to spread your wisdom, your knowledge, and your understanding about meditation, about accountability, about everything. We definitely appreciate all of the gems that you have dropped today. I know people will be blessed by it. So definitely thank you again, and I'm absolutely looking forward to you coming back on at some point and doing a round two to this whole thing. I already got some ideas, but that's besides the point. But
Nice.
yes, so definitely
Thanks for
appreciate
asking.
you. Yes, of course, anytime. Appreciate you, and thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting, and tune in till next week on the Conversation of the Heart podcast. It is your boy T. Till. Thank you very much. Peace.